Hi guys, this is question 7 from Unit 2 Biology, June 2014. Question 7 is about index of biodiversity, so you should check out my index of biodiversity video before we even start. So click the link above and I hope that helps you out. So first of all, we need to know what two measurements are needed to calculate an index of diversity. Well, first of all, we need to know the number of species we're dealing with. Or rather, the number of individuals in each species. Number of individuals per species. We also need to know the total number of individuals in all of the species. So total individuals. Now in this question it's quite unusual because they're not actually asking you to do any calculations for the index of diversity, which they normally do in all species. So it's an interesting task because normally they give you the equation, they tell you what it all stands for, and give you some numbers to work with. But in this question they've flipped it on its head a little bit. So in the second part of the question we're told that a herbicide is a chemical used to kill weeds. Ecologists investigated the effect of a herbicide on crop yield and the diversity of insects. They sprayed different fields with the same volume of different concentrations of the herbicide. At harvest, the ecologists determined the mean crop yield and the mean index of biodiversity for the fields that received the same concentration. Quite a complicated graph this, so I'm going to colour code it a little bit. So anything that relates to mean crop yield is going to be on this axis here, and that's this line. Anything that relates to index of biodiversity is going to be relating to this axis, and that is thus. And then as we move along, our thing that we've changed here really is the concentration of herbicide along the x-axis. So some fields acted as controls, which was my colour that I was using. Controls. They were sprayed with a solution that did not contain the herbicide, effectively a placebo. And the reason why we use a control is to allow comparisons. So to compare the effect of the herbicide. Basically it's checking to say that the herbicide is what's actually killing the weeds and not something else. There we go. Let's have a little look-see. Suggest an explanation, so it suggests, we don't know it, but we've got to work it out, for the relationship between the concentration of herbicide and the mean crop yield. Okay, so let's have a look at our graph. So, as the concentration increases across here, our graph goes up and then it declines. Okay, we can deal with this. So more herbicide kills the weeds and we get more plants, more crops. So realistically, there's going to be more, let's have a look, more, no, let's word this a different way. Let's say that weeds are killed, reducing competition, so that the crops can flourish. So they'd be competing for things like water, nutrients, light, space, all of that jazz. Problem is, we've got to deal with that dip at really high concentrations. So what if, perhaps at high concentrations, the herbicide itself affects the plants, affects the crops, sorry. So crops harmed at very high concentrations. That makes sense. There we go, 2 marks. And finally, I think, explain the relationship between concentration of herbicide and the mean index of biodiversity. Okay, so let's have a look-see. So this is increase in herbicide results in a lower index of biodiversity. So if we've got less weeds, we have less weeds. That is less habitats for insects, less food for insects. This is both for insects. Okay. Therefore, lower diversity. Nice and straightforward. So, thanks very much for watching, guys. Let's give ourselves a full 8 out of 8. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for question 8.